I never worked a day in my life. I love what I do. If I wasn't employed to do stocks, I was doing stocks anyway. All 8 portfolio managers wanted tech. Nobody wanted energy materials. I said, I'll take that. Reaching for money and the greed causes some very bad behavior. While I was teaching, they got to go see Warren Buffett. And he said, give me emotional intelligence. Give me the guy or girl that can keep her cool in the storm. The emotions are highest in the market, whether greed or fear, that's the point of maximum opportunity. The value of the gold in the ground, the copper in the ground is going way up, but it's not being recognized by the market. The stage is set for a multi-year, epic rally in this sector.
Michael Gentile started out on Bay Street grabbing coffees for the traders at Scotiabank and is now one of Canada's most successful fund managers. Bastion Asset Management controls roughly $500 million in assets. He's the top shareholder of more than 20 mining companies and an active father to 5 girls. So today, we'll learn about his incredible life story, his insights on the mining industry, how he balances such a high-level career with his family life, and more. Michael, how you doing?
Very good. Good to be in Vancouver.
Good. You don't come out here very often,
No,
so what brings you here?
It's a good cross-section of my life these days. I'm in town to see 3 or 4 of my top investments, including American Pacific with you. I'm here for a site tour, a mine site tour I'm going to do tomorrow.
Great.
And I'm here for a couple of charities that I support as well. So it's a really nice cross-section of how I spend my time.
I didn't realize on the charity part. What are the charities?
A mental health charity that I'm looking to get involved with, and a church-based one that I'm trying to support as well.
Very good. Very good. Charity a big part of your life?
Huge part, yeah.
Very good. Very good.
Philanthropy is very important to me.
Let's start this off. Bit of a personal note, because I'm interested to hear this part of the story. At this point in your life, you already have 3 girls. You sit down, the doctor says to you, congratulations, you're having twins. What was that moment like?
It was about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And I had to sit down very quickly.
Yeah.
We never had any twins in my family, so it wasn't even on my radar screen. Just going from 3 to 4.
Yeah.
And a double was quite something. I remember, because I'm a stock market guy, my job's to project the future. So after I caught my breath, I immediately thought, oh my gosh, what's this going to look like? My life's about to change in a huge way. My mind started spinning on how am I going to deal with this and manage all the constraints on my time and what it would mean for my family. So my mind went right away to solution, predicting future, and trying to figure out how I was going to handle it.
My wife, who's sitting off camera, would say that's the male point of view. It's always like, how do I fix this? Is what she always says.
Instead of just like being in the moment or trying to.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. Was that the precipice for leaving Formula Growth?
Yeah, my whole life got turned upside down. So at that time my eldest was 7. So I had a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 3-year-old. And I was looking at 5 kids under 8 being in my picture. And I was traveling 1 or 2 weeks a year all over the US with the fund I used to run. It was mainly US focused fund. Yep. I was stretched really thin already. As a father of 3, I felt like I wasn't being good enough in all areas. Just spend more time at work, more time at home. Yeah. And then I knew kind of twins was kind of like checkmate. I knew if I wanted to kind of stay married and have my family, which is the most important thing to me, that I could no longer do the job I loved, which is a really hard thing to face. I had worked my whole life to have a corner office and run a fund and my dream job. And as I discerned about it and prayed about it, I'm like, I need to step away. So I literally walked away cold turkey from partnership and a corner office and running a very successful fund with my partner, Charles Hager. Yeah. He was obviously crushed as well because they had a great friendship and relationship, but he knew I had to do the right thing for the family. Yeah. So I literally spent my whole life working towards something and then walked away in a second.
It's a wild part of your life story. I mean, that's having 5 girls under 8 to begin with, but then being able to walk away, having 2 children of my own, the youngest being 2.5. I understand the challenge of trying to balance both. I don't know how you do it with 5.
It ended up being the best decision I ever made in my life, though.
Yeah.
I found a new career path in mining, strategic investments, and gave me a lot more freedom to really lean into my strengths as well. Yeah. Like you spend a lot of time in life, you do a lot of things in your working life, but when I dropped everything, when I started putting work back into the vase, so to speak, I was able to focus on what am I really good at, what do I really love doing within something I already love doing, and focus all my energy on that. So before I might have worked 12 hours a day, but probably 50% of it was probably diffused in low value add activities. Right. And when I started getting back more active in the corporate investment world, it was 8-9 hours a day, but super efficient. Yeah. Like every minute, every day was like, either I'm really enjoying this, I'm really good at it, or I'm not going to do it. Yeah. And so my productivity went way up and success followed. So.
I'm mostly impressed that sitting here today, you're saying that the junior mining part of your portfolio was the best part. So.
Bear markets aside.
I was going to say. Yeah. Were you born in Montreal?
I was born and raised, yeah.
Born and raised there.
Today I live like 12 blocks from where I grew up.
Tell me about your upbringing, your
Yeah.
parents, and what
Yeah.
was
I
that like?
Very humble upbringing, very happy one. Both my parents were teachers.
Okay.
4 kids. Never took a plane till I was 21.
Oh,
but,
wow.
We went on vacation in our station wagon.
Yeah.
But very, very happy. My parents were amazing. They still are. They're still alive. Thanks be to God. But unconditional love. Very happy childhood. So I kind of grew up realizing you don't need money to be happy. We didn't have a lot, but we were super happy. My parents were teachers, so they really emphasized education, hard work, giving back, treating people with respect.
Yeah.
So really, really fortunate, very blessed to have that childhood. Math, my dad's a math teacher, so I instantly gravitated towards numbers.
Yeah.
He wanted me to go into more pure math, and I found the stock market, which I found much more entertaining.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, very, very fortunate. I mean, I won the lottery in terms of the parents, the upbringing that I had. I'm very, very grateful for that.
Talking about getting into the stock market, Resource Talks recently interviewed you, which was a great interview. I don't know those guys. It was the first time I'd seen one of their interviews, but I thought it was great.
Yeah.
They stole some of my questions, but credit to them. One of the things that you said on that interview is you started investing at 16.
Yeah.
How did that come about? Who introduced you to investing? How did that?
It shows you like one teacher I had when I was 9 years old. I was in grade 4, elementary school. And that is a little group that met after school called Explorateur, which is like you explore things outside the classroom.
Cool.
And one of the projects was the stock market. And I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. And so we had a little Bristol board. It was pre-internet days, right? So we had a Bristol board. I said, pick 5 companies that you want to follow.
Yeah.
And so my dad drank Labatt beer, so I took Labatt. We went to McDonald's. We had an IBM computer, so I just picked the ones, Nike, that had Nike shoes, right?
Yeah.
And I started, every week you followed these stocks and you see them go up and down. I was just mesmerized by it. And so ever since that day, I read the business section every day from the age of 9 years old till today. And I would check the stocks and follow the market and read the sports. So sports and business was my 2 things that I would read constantly. So I kind of got the bug. But I never had any money because we had no money. So when I got my first job at 16 or 17, sharpening hockey skates, the first $5,000 that I made, I put in the stock market.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then the first stock I ever bought went up 10 times, and then I was completely hooked.
Oh, yeah.
So that'll get you hooked forever, right? So you spend the whole summer making $5,000, and you make $45,000 in a month and a half on the market. You're like, this is fun. I want to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's kind of the early. So I'm really grateful to that teacher. Having you never know when one teacher goes out of her way to do something extra. That would have changed my life, right? I found my passion. I was very fortunate. I found my passion very young.
Teachers don't get paid nearly enough. The good ones in particular, it makes such a difference. We're seeing that with our son now. He's only in grade 1, but when they have that good teacher and they want to go to school and they want to learn, and taking that extra time is definitely a big thing. I want to get into the business a little bit, but I'm going to surprise you with 2 quotes.
Sure.
First one is, Michael represents a truly rare breed of investor. He takes a long-term view in a volatile sector. That makes him so valuable as both a shareholder and a spokesman. Scott Lamacraft, from Executive Chairman of Cormark.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Where's that quote taken from?
He wrote that.
Oh, wow.
He wrote that about
For
you.
you, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And then the other one's slightly longer, so I'll say it as quickly as I can. Anything Michael likes as an investment or a speculation in the metals and mining space is something well worth attention. He's a unique ability to spot opportunity at an early stage and understand project upside and risk prior to these things being fully factored into the market. I won't give you the rest because then you'll know who it is. Brian Slarchuk, K92, founder of K92. So a couple of bright guys saying nice things, kind of sets the stage. Tell me, how did you go from grabbing coffees for the guys at Scotia to where you are today? What was the kind of unique characteristic that made it work for you?
That define why I achieved success, or what?
How did you build it? I mean, lots of guys get the opportunity to get the start. Not a lot of guys make it, let's not call it the finish line, but make it to where you are.
I mean, I come back to my being 9 years old. I think it's passion. I mean, I was really, really passionate. And you can't, the one thing you can't fake in life is passion.
Yeah, that's true.
And when I interview, have my own investment firm now, and we meet candidates. I'm really looking for passion, because most boys and girls are pretty smart, especially if they're applying for a job. They've gone through university. But to me, it's passion. It's going that extra mile. I'm the kind of guy, you go to work and then at home I'd be online looking for new ideas on the stock chat boards, or looking up an annual report, or reading letters,
Yeah.
So that's just, I never worked a day in my life. I love what I do. If I wasn't employed to do stocks, I was doing stocks anyway.
Yeah.
I was already investing my own capital, had my own portfolio. So to hire me as a junior analyst, I would like to think it was a low risk hire. I came with a portfolio of names and ideas and stocks that I was following. Most people you're hiring them, trying to train them up, see if they have the aptitude, see if they have the passion.
Yep.
So, I'm saying it was a no-risk hire for my employer, but obviously you have the passion, you have the intellectual ability, and you have the drive. It goes a long way. And obviously you have to get lucky. I'm very grateful to my first employer, Formula Growth, because as I said, my family was from humble origins. I had no connections.
Right.
My mom and dad never bought a stock in their life. I don't think anybody in my family, my Italian side of my family, ever bought stocks before. So it's not like I had a hookup or I had an uncle or someone to call and say, hey, give this kid a chance. So I really had to kind of knock the doors down yourself.
Yeah.
But that someone taking a chance on me, whether it be the teacher in grade 4 or my first boss, John Dobson and Randy Kelly at Formula Growth.
Gotcha.
They hired me out of school, co-op internship.
Amazing.
And then I was there for 8 months on a co-op intern salary back to school. And then they said, do you want to, I said, I'll work a day a week for free just to keep my desk. I didn't want someone else to take my desk. So while I was in school, I was working there.
Yeah.
And I found a place right out of school that I love, small mid-cap stocks, my passion, and locally in Montreal, which I wanted to stay. And so it's, you got to have a bit of luck in life and a bit of opportunity. Yeah. But when you have that opportunity, you got to seize it. You got to work for it.
Was it always mining?
No, it wasn't. My first sector was oil and gas, actually. It was in the mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
The tech boom was kind of in full swing. Yeah. Oil was $10 a barrel, I believe. And there was a headline in Maclean's magazine that said oil's going to 5. Oil's done. Yeah. I remember being in an investment club at university, and all the kids were fighting over covering the tech sector. Each student had to cover one sector.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll take the sector that nobody wants. So all eight portfolio managers wanted tech. Nobody wanted energy materials. They said, I'll take that. And it was my first lesson in contrarian investing, right? Because the best sector in the world from 98 to 2008 was commodities. So I started in oil, then I rotated into metals and mining, into other commodities. Then I became a more senior portfolio manager, so I started covering all sectors like healthcare, tech, industrials. But my first and most consistent love has always been commodities. Yeah. I was always the in-house commodity specialist. A lot of the first commodity stocks I bought went up 10, 30 times, so that'll hook even more. Yeah. When you have a commodity that goes up and you have companies that make good discoveries, it's just explosive, the kind of returns you can have.
Oh yeah.
After 2-3 years of a bear market in mining, you may forget that, but it's pretty powerful when those stars align. Yeah. So I always kind of came back to that passion, and no one at my old firm had covered commodities for 20 years. So there was also that white space of nobody wanted it.
It's funny you say about you can forget after a couple of years of bear market, because I was feeling down on the sector. This was a few days ago. I was at a colleague's house. Colleague is a business partner of mine, and then another broker, senior broker. And we got chatting about 04, 05, 06. Mm-hmm. And I said it then, I was like, I remember when the bottom for any stock was $1. Mm-hmm. And I remember, there was I won't say the company, but it was a company with the office right next door to us. It was not a very good company. And I remember them celebrating that, they were trading at $1. And I can't remember, they just raised $5 or $10 million. And you forget that those stocks that were 10 cents or 5 cents were all $1, and then the good ones really reap the rewards. Yeah. May those days come soon.
Well, they're on their way.
Yeah. Well, that's the next question. Future of the mining industry. Yeah. Where do you see things going from here?
I think obviously a very bullish outlook. Gold's through 2,400 today, or wherever it is this morning. I didn't check the quote the last couple hours, but so obviously commodity prices are making new highs. Mm-hmm. The producers have emerged. 2015 when I first really getting back into mining in a hard, serious way, and then 2018 when I fully transitioned almost all my portfolio to it. Those producers Barrick was on its knees, Freeport was going bankrupt, the companies were in free fall, asset sales, trying to basically stave off bankruptcy, right? Yeah. You look at today, their balance sheets are pristine. Mm-hmm. They're going to start generating huge amounts of cash flow, right? It's an industry that has to acquire new reserves every year to stay flat, let alone grow. Yeah. And the junior resource sector is at never before seen low valuation levels. So when the big guys get healthy and get strong and start generating cash flow, I'm already seeing, you're probably seeing it, the mid-tier large corporates have turned from more defense to offense. Yes. I sense their conversations are more aggressive, they're talking about acquisitions, they're more engaging with the discussions we've had the juniors I'm involved in. So I think we're just knocking on the door of that. I think the big piece that's missing, and I think you're part of this video series, you're trying to address that, is how do you broaden the audience, right? Because our friend Peter Graham just talked about the dwindling audience of retail investors. Yeah. Brokers don't buy mining stocks anymore. Institutions, they're too small for many institutions. The retail crowd has been out, attracted by other things. So there's a very limited audience for the juniors, which is why the valuations are so low. Yeah. But as a fundamental, intrinsic value, kind of deep value kind of speculator, that's when you want to buy, right? When there's huge fundamental value. The value of the gold in the ground, the copper in the ground is going way up, but it's not being recognized by the market. So the producers are going to solve part of that. The retail will always follow price action. So when these stocks start to perform well, you go from 10, 20 cents, 30 cents, 40 cents, they'll all jump on between 50 cents and $1, right? At 15 cents, it feels like you're pulling your hair and you're going crazy. Yeah. But the stage is set for a multi-year, epic rally in this sector. It's just people are just going crazy. When's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? Yeah. But to me, the tailwind of the commodities and the backdrop keeps getting better and better and better. So I've kept my cool the whole time and been increasing and continue to invest in the sector because I know the future returns are going to be even more incredible when it does turn.
They should be aggressive. Yeah, they should be aggressive. Yeah, I certainly believe in the selling begets selling, buying begets buying thesis. And you're right, people will miss the 15 to 50 and then the 50 to significantly higher will be flooded. Biggest frustration for you in junior markets doesn't just have to be mining.
Yeah, I would say there's too many junior mining companies.
Yes.
There's too many bad actors still.
Yes.
I think the industry's a lot better than it was, let's say, 20 years ago. But there's hundreds or thousands of junior companies across all sectors.
Yeah.
There aren't 1,000 high-quality CEOs that can run those companies effectively, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we could do a whole hour interview on my laments of the junior sector, right? There's a lot of things that go wrong, right?
Yeah.
But I think overall there's too many companies. And there's too many bad actors, which means the investors are reluctant to allocate capital to the space, right? I mean, they make bad decisions on fundraising, they make bad on capital allocation, there's lifestyle companies, there's companies that raise money at the wrong times, that allocate capital poorly, don't care about shareholders, not enough ownership, equity ownership in these companies. There's a lot of things that go wrong, but there are some great companies, and they're all trading at really low valuation, which is nice, right?
Yeah.
So the bad actors in a certain way give you an opportunity, because the winners are being suppressed by the negative sentiment and the fact that the industry has a bit of a bad reputation for destroying capital.
It's funny, your comment about bad actors. A lot of those bad actors can end up with great assets. And the challenge then becomes, if you feel that you're one of the good companies, is being able to take those companies over and getting the greed and ego out of the way.
Yeah.
That can be a big challenge.
I've said it many times before, you can't change geology, but you can change management.
Yeah.
Now, changing management's hard, and it's time consuming, and it's frustrating, and it'll stress you out, but the geology's not going anywhere. If you got a great asset in a bear market, and that's why I wish there was more activist investors like myself in the space. I think if you'd appreciate this, if you have a 10 or 20% shareholder, you're in constant communication with me, right?
Of course.
And I think if you had more companies that had 10, 20% shareholders, like you have in the institutional arena, it does elevate the behavior. It does put a higher standard because you can vote management out.
Yeah.
Or you're accountable, right? When you have a share structure where it's owned by 1,000 retail investors who own like 0.1% of the company each, they're not organized, and it's more easy to get abuses to happen because they can't get themselves together. They're getting fleeced. They're not having a good outcome, but there's nothing they can do.
They just sell and move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wish there was more kind of strategic cornerstone investors in the space, but that'll come too as the sector gets more mature and the returns are there. But there's a dearth of, I guess, sophisticated money in the junior space. Yeah,
it's very hard to access.
Yeah.
I've found that to be the challenges. I mean, we're fairly well institutionally owned for a smaller company, you being the larger shareholder, but it is difficult just because for a long time they've held back. They haven't been as aggressive as you'd want to see them be. Again, I think we'll see that change, and when we do, it is quite nice to be able to chat with one of your major shareholders because you can bounce ideas as well too, right? So I mean, that's from the CEO seat, it is one of the really helpful things.
Well, on that topic, I saw a stat which blew my mind. From 2000, I think it was 2008 till today, the assets under management of the precious metals funds, I think, are down 80 to 90% in today's dollars, which means it's probably down like 95% inflation adjusted, right? So those funds that would be shareholders of American Pacific or other junior mining companies, their AUM has shrunk by 90%.
Yeah.
So those are funds that are dedicated to the space. So we talk about all the people that are not there by choice, but the funds that have to be there, the precious metal funds, have shrunk so much, and there's no new inflows in those funds. So the only way they can buy American Pacific or another stock is they got to sell something else.
That's right.
Or if not, they're getting redemptions, or they're selling two things to buy one new stock. So there's just been constant pressure on the sector. I think we've got to be pretty close to the low when your funds are down 90% of AUM. You can only go up from here, but that's been a huge weight on the sector for the last several years because there's just been no new money coming into the junior space.
Anecdotally, you'll get a laugh on this. I won't say who the fund is, but I met with a fund when I was in New York. I was at a conference and it was one of the big meetings I was quite looking forward to. Went through the whole meeting. They really liked the company, but at the end they were pitching us saying they wanted to raise more money for the fund, and was there anybody that we knew that would have? It quickly became the reverse pitch. Which I thought, okay, well that's where we are in the sector today. One of the questions I had down that I wanted to ask you, but I think I know the answer at this point, just from your passion for the industry, is you've been incredibly successful. Why keep going? And I'm assuming it's the passion. It's just you don't feel like you're actually working.
It's two things. It's that. It doesn't feel like it's work. I had a dramatic experience in my early 20s. From 9 years old, I wanted to work in the industry, and I'm very driven. did really well in school because I wanted that job. I wanted that chance to get into the business, and it wasn't going to be easy to break into the business. And so, in my mid-20s, I achieved a good level of success. I made a lot of good investments. So, relatively speaking, I was relatively wealthy at a very young age. And then I had a dramatic encounter with God at that mid-20s where it kind of threw me for a loop. It was the best thing ever happened to me. But then I realized, well, this is a career that really coincides. Should I be building hospitals in Africa or building orphanages or helping the poor? A career in finance seemed a bit, not good enough, to do the work I want to do with my life.
Yeah.
And I had a really mentor and a friend that really changed my life when he said, don't you think you can do a lot of good in the finance business? Don't you think God wants you to do good things in your career and your everyday life? And it liberated me to go back to work and say, look, if I do great things with my job, in our business, if you're successful, you make a lot of money, right? But I can do good with that money. I wasn't the kind of guy that wanted to go to Africa and build a hospital. It wasn't in me, right? But I love what I wanted to do. And I said, okay, if I'm really successful, I can do great things with that. So part of the reason why I work is I love it.
Yep.
Part of the reason why is I want to do good with the fruits of my labor. So
that's good.
I plan on giving most of the money I make away to charity, and that's what motivates me every day. If I have a huge home run and it goes up 20 times, then all the good I can do supporting the philanthropic causes that I want to do with that money. So it's a double motivation that I have.
I haven't heard you speak like that before. That's interesting. Yeah. I know Pete Grandich is that's where you and Pete.
We hit it off on that, when we first started talking business, and then I realized we had a similar alignment in terms of our values, and so it kind of added another dimension to our friendship.
Yeah, that's good.
Because my wife asks me all the time, why do you work, right? Because I have 5 kids, right? And so, but she's also aligned with the good that we can do with the fruits of my work, right? So that's really a major motivating factor for me.
Tell me what your aha moment was with speculating. It was at the $5,000.
It was a realization that your money can work a lot harder than you can. So putting your money to work. Like I said, I used to do 70, 80 pairs of skates on a Sunday, 5 hours. I used to come out like sweaty and dizzy of sharpening 80 pairs of skates in 6 hours, right? I said, well, $6 an hour for sharpening skates.
Yeah.
Or putting my mind to work to try to find a great opportunity and the wealth that could be created by doing. And what I love about the stock market too is that, I never go to casinos. I hate casinos because I know in advance the odds are against me, right? Whereas for me, the stock market is like a casino where if you work really hard, you can put a 70-30 odds in your favor, right?
Yeah,
or if you stay at it, and you're going to make mistakes, but if you stick to it and you work hard, you're going to have a steady return over time of incremental gains you're going to make, right? So to me, I was like, hey, this is a game that I can play, I can understand. I'm not afraid of hard work. Not afraid to be contrarian, not afraid to lose money once in a while. And the passion allows you to stick it out. So that was really fascinating me with that. So speculating was, in the smaller companies, no one's looking at them, right? So they're probably the most inefficient of all the marketplace. I always focus my professional career on small caps, so kind of 100 million to 1 billion market caps, because most professional investors can't touch them. They're too small. When I had the twins and I had to do a reset of my life, I went right down to the $5-10 million market caps, because I said, I'm not saying I'm the smartest guy out there, but with my level of acumen, competing in a pool of people that are not as sophisticated, I could hopefully have a better idea of picking the winners versus the losers. And the stocks were so inefficient that you could pick up assets for a $5 million market cap that you knew were worth $50 to $100 million with the right set of cards, the right financing, the right opportunity behind it, right? So trying to find inefficient markets, working hard, and seeing the returns of your labor, really, really lit me up. So I've had fortunate to have multiple 10, 20, 30 bagger stocks in my career. And those keep you up at night when you're having a rough patch. You remember those stocks, okay, that's why I do this, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. What's your precipice to sell a stock?
Great question. I learned from another one of my mentors of my old firm. I write everything down.
Okay.
So when you get into a stock, it's very easy to lie to yourself.
Yeah.
Say you buy a stock at $1.
Yeah.
And you're like, the company's going to do this, this, and this. Commodity price is going to do this and this. They're going to execute this drill program. They're going to do a PA. And all of a sudden, a year later, I have my handwriting in front of me, and they didn't do any of those things.
Right.
The commodity price went down. They didn't put out the PEA. The drill results didn't hit. But now the stock's 10 cents or 20 cents. You're like, well, I can't sell now. I've lost so much money. I got to wait till it goes back up. Most retail investors do that, right?
Yeah.
But that's why I love to have my thesis clearly articulated. So when I'm looking at my own handwriting, saying I thought this was going to happen, the total opposite happened. I don't really care what the stock price is at that point.
Right.
It's a sell.
Yep.
Whereas the opposite's also true, right? If I buy a stock at $1 and they say they're going to do these 5 things and they do them all, and now the stock's 50 cents, that's when I'll be backing up the truck.
Right.
Because they've executed well, they've created value. The stock market, due to whatever mood is in that month or the year, has mispriced the stock downwards, right? So for me, it's very important to have a thesis on the way in. Otherwise, you have no idea when you're going to sell. Or you lie to yourself, or you double down the wrong stock, or you sell a stock because it's up. Sometimes my first mentor, John Dobson, told me the best time to buy stocks at a 52-week high if your thesis is playing out. Like he bought Home Depot when they had 3 stores, or Costco when they had 4 stores. And he said there could be a Costco everywhere in America. And he was right. So along the way, Costco has made a million new highs.
Yeah.
But if your thesis is there could be a Costco everywhere in America, and they go from 3 stores to 10 stores, and the stock goes from 4 to 10, the worst thing to do is sell at 10.
Yeah.
Because from 3 to 10 tells you there's a concept that's working here. That 10 could be 1,000 stores. You should be buying more, right?
Yeah.
A lot of investors react to price. I react to what's my thesis. And then most importantly too, is if I'm right, where should the stock trade? Like we're a long way from that because we've been in a depressed bear market for years, but at a certain point the market will get ahead of itself. Yeah. Like as much as I love American Pacific, if today I had a $500 million market cap, I would be selling every single share I had. Yeah. Right? Because obviously at a $30 million market cap, I love the story, right? Yeah. So you have to understand like what is the market cap of this company if my thesis plays out? What's the attainable opportunity? Yeah. Sometimes the market's going to take you 10 times higher than that attainable market cap because it's super bullish like it is in AI right now or tech. Yeah. Other times it'll take you 90% below where it should be. And that's where you need to take action. But if you don't have it written down, you're just going to get whipsawed and you're going to get beat up by the markets and you're going to make emotional decisions and make the mistakes.
One of the hardest things to do is to buy them when they're at their 52-week highs. Yeah. I found that myself. Yeah. Even if I like it and think, oh.
Or 52-week lows. They're both really hard to do, right?
Yeah, true.
And, you know, I had a really fortunate opportunity to meet Warren Buffett.
Oh, wow.
I taught for 10 years at university. In my class, like one day a week to give back to my old school and kind of teach kids how you do the job for real. Right. And luckily while I was teaching, they got to go see Warren Buffett. And he said, someone of the students got up and asked a really good question, like, what do you look for a successful investor? And he's like, passion. Mm-hmm. He says, give me an IQ 130 to 140. I don't need the nuclear physicist or the PhD physicist to be a stock picker, but give me emotional intelligence. Yeah. Give me the guy or girl that can keep her cool in the storm. Mm-hmm. And that's very rare. I've been working in business a long time. When things get rough, money's involved, people get really emotional. Oh, yeah. And that's when you make a lot of mistakes. Yeah, yeah. You're selling because you're pissed off. You're selling because the customers are mad at you. Mm-hmm. And so I think I have a temperament that I can stay calm in most environments, allows you to think clearly and take advantage of opportunities. When the emotions are highest in the market, whether greed or fear, that's the point of maximum opportunity. Yeah. Either to sell or short or to buy and get long. But most people can't keep their cool in those moments. So I thought that was really insightful on Warren's part because he was
that's great.
He's a pretty. You see Warren, I've never seen him get riled up. Maybe he does in private, but he's cool as a cucumber, despite running hundreds of billions of dollars.
Are you looking for that same sort of thing when you're looking for CEOs? Are you looking for a guy who stays calm and like?
I think it's important for sure because I think there's points where you can panic.
Right? Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Or you can throw your cards and sell at the lows, or you can get overly excited at the highs and do a bad acquisition. So that temperament is very important. Yeah. But I think when you're allocating capital, like on a daily basis, that EI is extremely important.
Interesting. Okay, fun one. Your favorite story from the business, one that can be shared with the cameras.
So back to the whole thing about hard work, right?
Yeah.
So I was running a fund with my now partner Charles Hager. It was at our old firm. Yep. And we had got invited to do the biggest pitch of our lives. We were pitching a very, very large, Fortune 500 pension plan of a company for the biggest mandate we would ever pitched for in our lives. So we got to the airport. We're supposed to be flying at 4 o'clock. The pitch is the next day at lunch. So we're going to fly in early. We're going to make sure we got a good night's sleep. We're all ready to go. We get there, delay. Finally at 10:30. Flight's canceled. And we got to be in the middle of the United States the next day at noon. So we're like, what do we do? We're on the phone, we're trying to find any flight out of Montreal, out of Ottawa, nothing, can't find anything, right? So then we go home, we're still on our phones, our wives are looking for exits. Finally, we get a phone call from the wife of another partner saying, there's a flight out of Burlington, Vermont that leaves at like 7 a.m. the next morning. By now it's midnight, I'm at home, we're like moping around. We call the client and tell them that we're not gonna show up for the biggest pitch of our lives, we can't do this. So my two partners, when we're now partners in an investment firm together, Bastion Asset Management, say, no, we're not letting this go down. So my buddy drives to my house, picks us up in his Jeep. We drive 4 hours, cross the border at like 3 a.m., sleep for an hour in a hotel, fly out of Burlington, Vermont, the small little airport to the pitch, get there an hour before, take a huge coffee. We go in and we hit the pitch out of the park and we get the biggest mandate in the history of our
Amazing.
firm. Right? Yeah, so it's just a lesson to us of like a perseverance, and sometimes you get thrown 2 curveballs, 3 curveballs, and you can fold your cards and say, my flight's canceled, I tried to make it do, I couldn't make it. Or you push through. It's a great lesson for junior mining
100%.
CEOs or executives right now, is you're going through a storm right now, right?
Oh yeah.
You can throw in your cards, or you can keep pushing ahead.
Right, it's hard. Always before the big meeting that something goes wrong, right? I mean, that's like foolproof.
So that's those 2 guys, and I end up founding a firm together now, and that those kind of people that share your values, your work ethic. That we had a great time. We didn't sleep. We were just like. Yeah. But it was the founding of a great professional relationship, personal and professional.
Yeah, those moments kind of meld you too, right? I mean,
it's endured to this day.
Yeah. What's one thing you wish people knew more about you?
Well, I shared in the call today. I think the why I do what I do.
Yeah.
Right. My perception of in our industry, you just want to accumulate wealth for wealth's sake, or Mike does this because he wants to be a super wealthy guy. I live a pretty humble life. I have a few luxuries that I like. But in general, I really do what I do because I love what I do, and I want to do good by the fruits of my labor, right? And I think that's what motivates me. And I wish that more people in finance had that. I'm not here preaching to anybody. I'm saying, but like there are a lot of great people in our business that are really generous, right? But I think the reaching for money and the greed causes some very bad behavior and very bad reputational damage in our industry, right?
Yeah.
So I think if people understood how, my parents were teachers, right?
Yeah.
And they made 60 grand a year their whole lives. It had a huge impact on society, right?
Yeah.
You have to wake up and realize, we're in a business, we're very fortunate to get paid multiples of that.
Yeah.
And our impact in society is much lower.
Yeah.
So it behooves us to do something good with the blessings that we received, right?
Yeah.
And I think it would elevate our business, maybe create a lot less of social tension that we have. Rather than the government saying I'm going to tax you at 70% and expropriate your wealth, maybe having more of that attitude of, I'm really fortunate, and I could be a teacher, I could be a nurse, I could be a paramedic, I could be a police officer that are serving society, but I'm not, and therefore I should contribute back to society, but not being forced to by the government, but actually out of the goodness of our own hearts. So maybe it sounds a bit too preachy and idealistic, but I think it would change the game.
No, I don't think it does. I said this at my interview with Peter as well. My mom always said this thing about building a longer table, inviting more people in if you have more, right?
Yeah.
And she'd be happy to hear me say that. So, okay, rapid fire questions. I'm going to shoot a question at you. You give me an answer in 1 or 2 lines.
Okay.
Favorite vacation spot in the world?
I have a place in Maine, my cottage that I go to, that it's my happy place. My family's been going there for like 75 years. Obviously not me. My mom was going there since she was a kid, and it's I've traveled a lot, but it's the one place in the world where I pull up in the driveway and it's my happy place. My stress goes down by 95%, and I just love being there.
Yeah.
So for me, it's my special
you need to
place.
have those places.
Yeah.
That's biggest flaw.
Despite my good EI at the office, I do have a temper. It tends to come out in family life or in relationship settings where it's I think it's probably you're under pressure all day long probably, and so I'm half Italian, half a quarter Irish, so I have a bit of a hot-blooded nature in me, and so I probably say I do have a bit of a hot temper at times. My wife and kids would attest to that.
I can see my wife laughing and nodding over there. She's agreeing on that one for me, I think. Guilty pleasure.
Sweets, ice cream.
Okay.
I have a very bad sweet tooth. So,
is that right?
Yeah. Okay. I got to avoid the sweet table when I can.
Biggest risk you ever took?
Financially, I would say, walking away from my job. For sure.
Yeah.
That's one. I think that was a big risk that ended up working out for me. And the stock market side of things, I've multiple times in my career I don't recommend this to your viewers here, but I've had like my whole portfolio in one stock. And so that's, portfolio diversification was not always something that I adhere to closely, but I've had a few days where I've had like 50% in one stock, 50% in the other, 75, 100% in one stock. So
just all chips in.
All chips in, yeah.
Good for you. Oh. Best compliment you ever received?
I'd probably say, professionally, it's a weird one, but I would say I remember 2014, there was the European financial crisis, and Greece was going bankrupt, and we had done really well, my firm, and we were having a really rough year, like a really bad year. And clients were upset, the partners were panicking, and the knives were out, people were getting really antsy. And a young guy that I just hired came up to me and said, Mike, how are you so calm? How come everyone else is like at each other's throats, everyone's panicking, everyone's being really nasty to each other, and you're just kind of calm? And it was an opportunity for me to share with them. And I said, well, because I believe in working for more than myself, right? Money's not the only thing that matters in life. And I had that perspective, and he noticed it, right? And it's not something that I had shared with him or anything, but I felt like it was nice to be recognized, and he saw something in me that he appreciated, and I really found that something that was really valuable to me. That is nice.
I'll go off script here for a second. I have found in this past 6 months, the knives are coming out with all these guys, with all these other companies, and just guys acting out of character because it's so tough. And staying calm is key. I think I have moments where the anger comes out of me as well. That's the British blood, I suppose.
And you feel that pressure as a CEO, right? And I don't blame those people for reacting because their money is at stake. But I think you can also tell the people that have maybe a bit of healthier perspective or balance in their lives. Where if a shareholder is writing you a nasty gram or attacking you on social media, there's certain things you can control, other things you can't, right?
Yeah.
And so I told my young employee at the firm I was working at look, some things we can't control.
Yeah, that's right.
You work really hard. Nobody knew that Greece was about to topple, but it did, and then that had that domino effect on your portfolio. And then coming back to your EI, if you panic and sell everything, then you're crystallizing those losses. If you say, okay, what's going on? Keep a cool head. Understand it's a temporary moment in time, right? But you learn a lot about people under stress.
And, yeah, when it's under duress, that's when you learn the most about people. Yeah. Worst advice you ever received?
Probably my grandparent, my grandmother was British. God bless them. I think it was probably the worst advice and the best advice I ever received. They wanted their grandkids and their kids to be the best in everything.
Okay.
If you do something, you got to be the best.
Yeah.
It was like strive for excellence. And I mean, I think I've strove for excellence like but had a lot of success. But I think when I had that seminal moment in my mid-20s, I realized, you want to do your best, but some things are out of your control. And if you strive to be the best at all costs, the collateral damage on your life can be terrible. So I saw some of my family members, broken marriages, broken lives, because they strove so hard for perfection or to be the best. So to me, I think it's always understanding, okay, why am I doing what I'm doing? Mm-hmm. Being the best means different things to different people, right?
Yeah, that's great
advice. I'm willing to let some professional success go by the wayside to achieve some of the goals, family, other that I want to achieve in my life. So be driven, but understand why.
Yeah.
And don't lose your compass, don't lose your bearings along the way.
Yes, great advice. Something you wish you were better at?
Music.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like music. I actually like to sing.
Okay.
I would love to be able to play an instrument.
Yeah.
But because of that crazy focus I had from 9 years old on the stock market,
didn't
really broaden my skill set too much. So I'm encouraging my kids to be a little more. My wife jokes to me, she says, "You're only good at one or two things, I said, "I'm really good at those two things." But I would like to be good at more things, and music would be one I would love to spend more time on.
You spend some time with Jonas. He's very.
It's a bit of a lost chance for right now. I think I'm a lost cause when it comes to music.
Well, there comes an age requirement, I think. Yeah. Are you predominantly happy with the way that you spend your time?
That's a great question. I would say, when I left my old job, like I said, everything I put back in the vase of life tend to be things I like to do. Mm-hmm. My nature is I'm very passionate about what I do. I only do stuff that I love, which is my danger for me is that I do too much of the stuff that I love.
Got it.
So everything I do 110%. Mm-hmm. And so my gate or the bearings I have to keep in my life is not to overfill my life with too many mandates or too many things. Mm-hmm. I think I always have that tension. And my wife's really good at calling me back to truth, and sort of say, okay, you're working a bit too much, or you got overextended here and there. So that's not a constant struggle that I have.
Yeah. It sounds like your wife is the balance in your life that keeps you there.
She definitely, and she does. She has no interest in finance.
Yeah.
She has no interest in my professional success, which I love. I would have had a hard time marrying somebody in finance, I think.
Right.
Because you work all day at it, you think all day about it, and you're coming home, you're talking about it.
Yeah.
She always calls me back to, she's my true north, in terms of helping me understand what's important. I don't always listen, but she does her best to try to keep me in line.
An affliction we're both stuck with, yeah. For young people watching this interview, what life and professional advice would you give for a younger audience?
Yeah, I love that question. I'd say do something you love. Yeah. I mean, like I said before, I'm passionate about what I do. I felt I've never worked a day in my life. Mm-hmm. Even during 2008 when the market's down 50%, it wasn't a chore to go to work, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of young people choose careers for money, mm-hmm. for status, for their parents, to please someone else.
Yeah.
And I think they end up being miserable.
Yeah.
Right? And if they might have a passion that's maybe less prestigious or maybe less recognized, and they don't pursue it because they're like, this is the safe choice, this is a choice that's going to make someone else happy. Mm-hmm. I think find what you love. If you're lucky enough to find something that you love, and then go all in on it, right?
You're good.
And spend a lot of time doing it and invest yourself in it, because you're going to end up being probably more financially successful, professionally successful, and a lot happier if you do that.
Let's end on this one. When life is all said and done, what do you want to be remembered for?
Definitely not my stock portfolio.
Yeah.
I want to be remembered for having a real positive impact on my family, my friends, the world around me. I went to a funeral recently, and to me, a funeral is a celebration.
Right.
Where someone's life is celebrated, and it's obviously sad to lose them, but you remember their life with joy, and they had such a positive impact on so many people.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I would love to I want to hopefully live a lot longer.
Yeah.
But when that time comes, that people say that the world was a better place that he was here. I mean, that's the best compliment you can get. Honestly, man, my world's a better place for knowing you. You've been not just a great shareholder, but someone who I really enjoy talking to, and I'm thankful for you. So. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for doing this. Thank you. Yeah, pleasure.